Alright, welcome to 9-7, which is radicals. It's the last lesson in chapter 9. We just finished graphing inequalities. Our next thing we'll do is take our test and do our chapter 10 test, or move on to chapter 10. So radical is a way to undo repeated multiplication. A way to undo repeated multiplication. That's an L. How do you spell multiplication? Here's an I there too. Cation. You got it. Okay, so we're going to be able to evaluate a radical, explain the answer, so why is it, and evaluate the expression that includes radicals and the orders of operations. Okay, so 3 squared, remember, just means 3 times 3. It means that we're doing 3 twice, and 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, it's okay to use a calculator. 4 to the third just means we're doing 4 times 4 times 4. So in my calculator, I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to have 4 times 4 times 4. So 4 times 4 times 4. And that is 64. So we did this back in chapter 5, I think. 2 to the 6th, so that'd be 2 times 2, 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 of the 2's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we get 64. Same answer. Another way I could have typed that in is by using this exponent key here. So you type in 2 exponent, and that allows you to have the exponent up here, 6, and then enter. And we get 64. Okay, so number 1, these ones are square roots. So we're going to evaluate the following square roots. And the idea is we have to figure out what times itself equals the number under the square root. So I'm going to quickly just do squares. So I'm going to think 1 times 1 is 1. And we're going to list quite a few of these. So try and write small, or make sure you have enough room to write over here. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 125, or I'm sorry, it's just 25. 6 times 6 is 36. 7 times 7 is 49. 8 times 8 is 64. 9 times 9 is 81. 10 times 10 is 100. 11 times 11 is 121. 12 times 12 is 144. 13 times 13 is 169. 14 times 14 is 196. And lastly is 15 times 15. If you can memorize these first 15 numbers, it's going to make life a lot easier in your math world. Okay? Those are the first 15. So the square root of 9. So what times itself is 9? Well, 3. So square root of 9 is 3. Because 3 times 3 equals 9. So our answer is 3. Okay, square root of 64 means what times itself is 64. So I'm going to look at my answers here. I have 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64. That was 8. So 8 times 8 was 64. So square root of 64 is 8. Square root of 196, what times itself was 196? 14. So the square root of 196 is 14. Because 14 times 14 is 196. Okay? So number 2, we're going to evaluate the following cube roots. So what times itself 3 times equals the number under the square root. So I'm just going to use my calculator. And for this one, I'm just going to guess and check. I'll show you how to do it on your calculator in just a moment. I'm going to just do 1 times 1 times 1. That's 1, so that won't work. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, so not that. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. So that would work. We've actually figured that out up here, that 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. So the cube root of 64 is 4. Because when I do 4 3 times, 1, 2, 3, that equals 64. Okay, so my answer is 4. Okay, I'm going to keep going until I get to 343. So I'm going to think, oops, escape. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. There we go. So 7 times, whoops, that's not times 7 times 7 is 343. So the cube root is 343 is 7. Because when I do 7 3 times, 7 times 7 times 7, it equals 343. Okay? All right. Last one. Just kidding. Last one of these, and then we have a few expressions. So we're going to evaluate these. So this is called the 6th root of 64. And there's two ways. I'm going to show you on your iPhone or computer how you would type that. So you're going to actually first type the inside number. So if you're using your calculator on your phone, you do have to tip it sideways. If you're using it on your computer, you have to go to your options and say scientific. I have to turn off my rotation. Okay, that's a timer, not a calculator. There we go. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is clear. Okay, so we need to type the inside number first. So I'm going to type 64 first, and then we need to find this symbol, which is this guy here, this Y. So then I'm going to hit that, and then I'm going to type the 6. And then I hit equals, and my answer is going to be 2. So the 6th root of 64 is 2. And we actually found that out on the front when we did 2 times 2 times 2 6 times. Okay? If you're going to use my calculator, it's very similar. Actually, it's not. It's backwards. You're going to hit Control, and then you're going to hit this power button. Okay? Which I actually Control. What is happening? There we go. Okay. So it's not control that, it's actually control this guy. Okay. And then this one now I'm on the outside, so I'm going to type that outside number, which is 6. So I'm going to type 6, and then actually use this to go out to the inside and type 64 and hit enter, and I get 2. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with this one. This one's the 4th root of 625. So I'm going to hit Control and then that button there. So I have the outside, 4, inside is 625. And my answer is 5. So the 4th root of 625 is 5. What that means is when I do 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, that's a really bad 5, I get 625. Okay, so number 4, now we have to use our germ DOS. So we're going to do grouping symbols first, which there is none. Okay, now exponents and radicals, left to right. So the first thing we're going to do is the square root of 49, which is 7. So I have 4 plus 6 times the square root of 49 is 7, because 7 times 7 is 49, minus 2 to the 4th. So I still have exponents and radicals left to right. I still have 2 to the 4th. Okay, 2 to the 4th means 2 times 2 times 2. Another way you can do that is by saying 2, and then use this button here, button 4. So 2 to the 4th is 16. So now I have 4 plus 6 times 7 minus 16. So now do I have any multiplying or dividing? I have the multiplying, 6 times 7. 6 times 7, you can use a calculator if you need to, is 42 minus 16. And lastly, we add and subtract left to right. So I'm going to start with 4 plus 42 is 46 minus 16. If you want to write it vertically, you can. You can use a calculator. 46 minus 16 is 30. Okay. All right, next one, grouping symbols. So we have two grouping symbols here. We have the parentheses, and we have the root underneath it. So we're going to start on the inside and then work our way outside. So I need to know what number is inside that root. So inside I have multiplying and I have adding. Am I going to multiply first or add first? I would multiply first. So I'm going to have 7. I'm going to rewrite this whole thing times 5. So what's 3 times 10? 3 times 10 is 30. And then plus 2 minus 6, parenthesis. So I still need to figure out what's in that root. So I need to do 30 plus 2. 30 plus 2 would be 32. So times the fifth root of 32 minus 6. So now in those parentheses, I still have to follow this order. Am I going to multiply, do the radical, or subtract? Radicals come before multiplying. So I'm going to use my calculator. I hit Control, and then this guy here. On the outside, I type 5. I'm going to move inside, so I actually type that, press that button, 32. And I get 2. So that's 7 minus 5 times 2 minus 6. Okay, and then in the parentheses, we would multiply first. So 5 times 2 is 10, minus 6. Still need those parentheses until we get one number there. So 7 minus 10 minus 6 is 4. And 7 minus 4 is 3. Okay. Summary. Radicals are about undoing repeated multiplication. All right, and that is it.